You know, when I walk Hamung's my dog. When I walk him and other dog owners ask me, is it a he or a she? Is it a boy or a girl? I always say, oh, it's a boy, it's a he. But that's just because he has a pee. So I always wonder, like, what does Hamung feel like on the inside as a male dog? Like, what does he feel like? Um, he doesn't really act he doesn't act masculine or feminine, but he's a dog, right? So I'm just guessing. In my guess, I assume that he feels very much gender neutral. Um, and he's just a dog, he's just chilling on earth. And I feel like same applies for us, where we're just people chilling. Like, why do we need to be defined by certain standards of masculinity or femininity? But at the same time, I want to acknowledge that, being able to use certain pronouns and being able to identify with certain genders are very important to many people's identities. And I believe that masculinity and femininity are quite real. I don't know if you want to call them traits or tendencies, or I don't know what the right word is, but I do think that they exist, and I do think that some people possess more masculine traits and others possess more feminine traits. That doesn't necessarily signify your gender. So with that complexity added to it, it gets even more confusing for me, where I don't really feel that feminine. I would say I feel, um, actually, to take a step back, I don't even know if I feel feminine. I definitely don't feel masculine. I do. I'm confused. Clearly, you can tell that I'm confused. I I used to think that I'm much more masculine, and that was because compared to my female friends, they seemed so feminine to the point where I viewed myself and I was like, why do I act like such a dude? Like, I don't feel like I act like a girl. And I think a lot of my confusion stems from that as well, where in situations that I was interacting with my female friends, I felt almost gross sometimes because I didn't feel feminine enough to fit in, and I felt like that made me less adequate. I think for for a lot of us, ever since we're born, we're told by everyone. We're told by our parents, those around us, our teachers, every single authoritative figure in our life, that you are a certain gender. For example, for me, since um, I was born with female genitalia, and uh, I would hear so much from my grandparents, from my parents, that I was such a girl and that I acted like a girl, and that, I was meant to be a girl, definitely, because I acted so much like a girl. And of course, this is according to certain Korean, um, Confucian traditionalist standards and expectations of how a girl should act. So that's, like quiet, calm, shy. Those are all things that are how a girl was supposed to act, very graceful, elegant. So from birth, ever since I was little until now, I've just been taught, and it's been ingrained in my mind that I have a vagina, therefore I should be a woman. And that's been affirmed by, everyone in my life. So now I've gotten to a stage where I'm reflecting on my feelings of, gender, possible gender dysphoria, and I'm questioning, you know, am I really a girl? Am I do would I prefer to use she her pronouns? And that that brings back a memory from my childhood, when I remember distinctively in grade one. Um, that was, I was in a school environment. It was, co-ed, so I had both boys and girls, and of course, I don't want to speak in terms of binaries, but back then that was my world. You were either a boy or girl. So I remember questioning, I feel very grateful and relieved that I was born in a female body, and I I can't even imagine what it must feel like to be trapped inside a boy's body. So then I wondered, do the boys in my class like being boy? Like, do they feel like they're a boy? Do they like being in a boy's body? I wonder what that's like, and I wonder if anyone who's born a boy doesn't want to be a boy. And back then, when I was like 6, I didn't even know that transgender was a thing. So me even questioning that goes to show these questions and these feelings that we feel about our gender are natural and we're born with them. So kind of building off of that, now at my stage in life, I'm 21, and for 21 years I just I went with it. I use she her pronouns. I I pass as a female, and everyone around me perceives me as a female. But if I actually do some more reflection, um I don't know if I feel like a girl. And again, like, I don't know what that means. What does it even mean to feel like a woman or feel like a girl? It's all confusing because gender is entirely a social construct. And um, of course, certain, society's expectations for how a girl should act like and what a boy should act like, what being feminine means, what being masculine means. These are all constructed, and these are not, set in stone and declared as a fundamental truth. So, for when I think back on my life and how I felt around, gender and sex, I wonder, you know, I never really felt like a girl. Like, for example, when people say things like, "Oh, it's a girls' night," or it's, "This is girl talk," or I don't know. There's so many examples, but those are all that I can think of for now. Like, I never really related to it, and it made me feel um, a little alienated in a weird way, in a sense that I knew that I was a woman, and I knew that I was a girl, and I knew that in certain aspects, I felt feminine, but I never really identified with the term of being a girl or being a woman. And that may be just a product of, hyper feminization of society and, everyone's expectations of how a woman should act like and what a woman should look like. So it's all confusing. I don't even know if what I'm feeling is because I don't identify with the female gender, or if just because I feel a sense of rejection towards um, traditional gender roles. So, with this in mind, um, let me bring up some of moments when I felt alienated from being labeled as the female gender. Is when growing up, I never was interested in makeup, and I was never really interested in dressing feminine. For example, wearing skirts or dresses. Of course, these are all just labeled as feminine by society, but for me, I never felt attracted to these things, and feeling that way made me feel very bad. Like, it made me feel very inadequate as a girl and a woman, and it made me feel less than. And even now, I'm not really that interested. Like, I like dressing myself in ways that represent me, but those ways aren't necessarily feminine. But then again, the question comes up, which is, what even is feminine? What does femininity look like? What is it supposed to look like? I don't want to invalidate all the different types of gender that exist and gender identities that people label themselves as. Of course, I believe that those identities are valid and that they are real and that people can identify with them. But also, I just wish that we could live in just a completely gender neutral world where we're all just vibing. Like, we don't need to worry about what label ourselves as, and we don't need to worry about how that differentiates us from other people, because we genuinely are all just humans. And um, maybe the only difference is that, you know, it's gender is a spectrum, and some people possess more feminine traits and some people possess more masculine traits, and maybe it's not even a binary. Maybe it looks more like a Venn diagram or a mind map. I don't even know. But I just want to really I wanted to talk about this because it's not something that I ever questioned in my life, and that's because, you know, everything regarding my gender and sexuality I was just told since I was young, and I assumed that to be true. And also, this combined with certain religious influences made me think that I should be a certain way and that I am a certain way without much exploration for me to determine that, you know, with self agency. So my family was Buddhist, and then we turned Christian, so I went to church for many years. And one of the most shocking moments to me was when was this in 2012? I don't remember, but when Barack Obama legalized gay marriage. Maybe this was 2013. I don't remember. And I messaged one of my best friends. He was Christian, and we went to the same church. I, I I was so excited, and I told him, like, finally this really great thing is happening, and I'm so happy about it. But then his response back to me was, "What do you mean? Like, this is the greatest sin. Have you read the Bible? Like, God is so against gay marriage, and this is a sin that, you know, Obama has legalized gay marriage because it's against everything that we stand for and everything that we believe in." This guy is one of the sweetest guys I've ever met, and he's so kind and interesting to talk to. And he told me that, I just felt so angry. I was like, you know, by the time you check your messages tomorrow morning, you're gonna have like a page full explanation of why God doesn't hate gay people and why being gay is perfectly okay. And then I did some research and I found out the hard way. I found out, to my shock, that the Christian community does indeed hate the gays. Like, I did not know that. So when I found this out, I struggled a lot because first of all, it was so contradictory to what I was taught, you know, God is all about. I thought God was all about love and acceptance, and God loves everyone no matter who they are. But being told this piece of information that was so against that fundamental truth that I held on to, it was heartbreaking, to be honest. And now looking back, I think that just prevented my exploration of my own sexuality, because there was already this limiting factor where, you know, it gave me a certain strict guideline of something that I shouldn't do because it's not okay. And that just made me assume that I've always been straight and I'm always going to be straight. Looking back at all of my crushes and my relationships, they've all been, to my knowledge, they've been cis men. So to me, it makes sense, you know, if I say that I'm straight, but at the same time, you know, I've never been with women. I've never been with non-binary people. I've never been with trans. I've never been with folks of other genders. So I honestly, like, I can't call myself, straight because I don't know if I'm straight. And I have a hard time distinguishing between platonic attraction and romantic attraction sometimes, where I wonder, you know, I've always had many, many female friends. Most of my friends have been female. I've never really had that many male friends. And I feel deep connections with other females. And I've always taken that to be, you know, like platonic love and platonic friendship. But I'm also questioning. I mean, I find women so beautiful and attractive, and they're so hot. Like, they're just attractive and beautiful and kind beings. I wonder if I am, you know, sexually attracted to them, but I just labeled it as a platonic friendship from the start. So there was no opportunity for me to really think about, you know, whether I like this girl, because I immediately took her in as a friend. It's like a default straight friend zone. So I this past summer, I was it was bad. I was addicted to TikTok. Like I would scroll on TikTok 8 hours a day, and TikTok, this is kind of like a bad and good thing at the same time, but TikTok is just filled with sex from all genders. TikTok is just a heaven of attractive people of all genders, and it awakens your pansexuality. Like I swear to God, people are just fucking hot on TikTok. And through my time spent on TikTok, that's when I kind of started questioning, like, I feel I'm turned on by this lady that I'm looking at, and she uses she/her pronouns, and I'm turned on by this gender ambiguous person that I'm looking at. Does that mean that I'm not straight? But also, I'm right now I'm in a happy relationship, and I'm willing to not explore myself and my sexuality in that sexually explicit way, but there's really no way of telling whether this is a legitimate and valid sexual attraction, or whether it's just me acknowledging that I find this person attractive. And yeah, maybe this just goes to show my ignorance or my confusion around what sexuality is, what I don't know. Sometimes I wish that I could talk about these things with people who identify as everything across the spectrum, so I could hear everyone's perspectives and kind of gain a sense of, like, is what I'm feeling, can it be counted towards a certain identity? Is my questioning valid enough for me to identify as non-binary or pansexual, etc.? And at the same time, I don't think it should be that big of a deal. Like, I like people, people like other people. Like, it's just a natural thing. Yeah, I'm very curious to hear what people who identify as she they or he they or they them feel about their gender identity, because I think hearing from those folks would be very helpful for me. I read a lot on this topic on Reddit and YouTube, and I came across this comment that said, whatever pronoun feels like a Cinderella shoe to your heart, that those are the pronouns that you should use. And that made me think a lot, because definitely when people refer to me as a woman or a girl, I feel a slight sense of dysphoria, because I don't, as I've said, I don't feel like a girl. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm valid enough to take up space in using they them pronouns. And I don't know if I'm even using she they pronouns. To me, it's like, would I need to explain it to others why I choose to use she they pronouns? But I think right now she they pronouns feel the most fitting for me. And there's another term called demigirl, which, I'm gonna butcher this so badly. I highly recommend and encourage you to Google search this on your own and research it. But demigirl means feeling fairly more feminine than masculine, but also like only identifying as a girl. Like sometimes, like, you don't really feel that much like a girl. And I wonder, for friends that I view as very, very, very feminine, I wonder if they do feel like a girl. Like, they use lots of terms like, let's have a girls' night, let's have a girl talk. But I don't know if their usage of terms like that comes from their own, cis identity, where they truly feel that their gender aligns with femininity and being a girl. There's a lot of things to unpack, but I've just recently started kind of actively trying to, I guess, explore my gender identity. And I hope that this shows some people that, if they do happen to be questioning, they're not alone, and that not feeling valid enough is a very common phenomenon. to those of you who have experienced religious trauma regarding gender and sex and sexuality, my heart goes out to you, and I know what that feels like. I just want you to know that as you are, as you were born, and as you live your life now, you are more than enough, and what you're feeling is more than valid, and it is normal, and there's nothing to be shameful about. I think that's all that I'm gonna say for now. Thank you so much for listening, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this as well. I wish this was a radio show so I could take in live calls and hear what y'all are thinking while you're listening to me. And I would love to hear, if I said something that was um, not true for you, or that you feel was kind of insensitive, or that I was ignorant on a topic. Please do reach out and let me know, because I really do want to learn more, and I'm open to feedback. So please do that. I would really appreciate it. So thank you, and see you, or I guess you'll hear me in the next podcast.